Ladies and gentlemen, I want us to use the Gauss elimination method to solve for the value of x1, x2, and x3 in the system of linear equations. We have three equations. So we want us to solve for the value of x1, x2, and x3. So this is the Gauss elimination method. So the first step that we will take to solve these equations, these three systems of linear equations using the Gauss elimination method is to swap the equations. That is, an equation is swapped with another. So this is equation 1, this is equation 2, and this is equation 3. We can also call this one row 1, this one row 2, and this one row 3. So swapping these equations, an equation is swapped with another. So I want to swap equation 1 with equation 3 in our case here. So I can say this is row 1 and this is row 3. So I will use rows. That is, let me swap row 1 with row 3. So that is the first step that we will take in using the Gauss elimination method to solve a system of linear equations. So I swap row 1 with row 3. So I will have 3x1 minus 7x2 plus 4x3 is equals to 10. Then I will have negative x1 minus 2x2 plus 3x3 is equals to 1. Then I have x1 plus x2, then plus 2x3 is equals to 8. So I have swapped row 1 with row 3. I have swapped the two rows. So this is the first step that you will take in using the Gauss elimination method to solve a system of linear equations. It is swapping the equations. An equation is swapped with another. So that is the first step. The second step, swapping means, let me explain what do we mean by swapping, because maybe you might ask what does swapping means if you have never came across with the word swapping. Swapping means interchanging the position of the equations or rows. Interchange. If, for example, this is row 1 and this is row 1 and this is row 3. So swapping row 1 with row 3 means this is the first row. This is the position of the first row. So if I swapping means interchanging the position. So if this was in the first position and I am swapping with equation 3, that means I will put this equation 1 in the third position, and I will also put this equation in the first position. Now let us proceed with the second method. The second, not method, but the second step that we will take. The second step is rescaling. And rescaling is only done when you have the coefficient of x1 or the coefficient of x2 or the coefficient of x3 as a fraction. And in this, we don't have the coefficient of x1 as a fraction, or the coefficient of x2 as a fraction, or the coefficient of x3 as a fraction. Therefore, we skip rescaling and we proceed to the last step. That is, an equation is replaced by the sum of itself and a multiple of another. So this is how you will work out the third step. That is, let me try to ensure that I eliminate x1. This is Gauss elimination method, remember. So I want to eliminate x1. And for me to eliminate x1, I will have to say that row 3 plus row 2. I am replacing row 3 because I want to eliminate x1 in row 3. Therefore, I will have to say R1 plus R2 so that I get my new R3. So let me have my R1, this is my R1, this is R2. Then I am having a new R3. So I will have 3x1 minus 7x2 plus 4x3 is equals to 10. Then I have negative x1 minus 2x2 plus 3x3 is equals to 1. Then x1 plus negative x1 will be 0. x2 plus negative 2x2 will be negative x2. Then positive 2x3 plus 3x3 will be 5. That is positive 5x3 is equals to 8 plus 1 is 9. So that is the new row 3. Then after eliminating x1 in row 3, let us also eliminate x1 in row 2. Let us eliminate x1 in row 2. So that means I will have 3 row 2 plus row 1. I will have my new row 2, because if I eliminate this x1, I will have my new row 2. So I will have my row 1, that is 3x1 minus 7x2 plus 4x3 is equals to 10. I have my row 3, this is my row 3, negative x2 plus 5x3 is equals to 9. So I will write my row 2 here. This is my row 3. So my row 2, my new row 2 will be 3r2 plus r1. So 3 times this, it will be negative 3x1 plus 3x1 will be 0. Then 3 times negative 2x2 will be negative 6x2 plus negative 7x2 will be negative, that is negative 13x2. Then I have 3 times 3x3 will be 9x3 plus 4x3 will be 13x3, that is positive 13x3 is equals to 3 times 1 is 3 plus 10 is 13. Now after arriving at this place, I want also to eliminate x2 in row 3, so that this one will be slanting that way. So I will eliminate x2. So in eliminating x2, I will have negative 13 r3 plus r2, and I am replacing row 3. I am having a new row 3. So this one will be, my row 1 remains in its position, that is 3x1 minus 7x2 plus 4x3 is equals to 10. My row 2 remains the same way it was. We have not interfered with it. That is negative 13x2 plus 13x3 is equals to 13. Then I am having a new row 3 by saying negative 13 row 3 plus row 2. So negative 13 times negative x2, I will have positive 13x2 plus negative 13x2 will be 0. So negative 13 times 5 will be negative 65. So this is negative 65x3 plus 13x3. I will have negative 52x3. Then negative 13 times 9 is negative 117 plus 13. So negative 117 plus 13 will be negative 104. Now, since we have that, we will therefore say that is negative 13x2, that is row 2 that I'm writing, plus 13x3 is equals to 13. My row 3 is negative 52x3 is equals to negative 104. Then my row 1 is 3x1 minus 7x2 plus 4x3 is equals to 10. So since I have that, since I have x1, x2, x3 in my first equation or my first row, then I have x2 and x3 in my second row, then I have x3 in my third row, it is now easier to solve. I will solve for the value of x3 here, then I substitute the value of x3 with whatever I have gotten here. Then after getting the value of x2 here, I will also substitute the value of x2, then I also substitute the value of x3, then I find the value of x1. So that is how you can use the Gauss elimination method to solve. So let us proceed. This is negative 52, x3 is equals to negative 104. So I divide by negative 52 on both sides. So I will have my x3 is equals to, by this one simplifies with this, and we will have here 2. So I will have my x3 as 2. Then let me substitute in the second equation. So negative 13x2 plus 13 into 2 is equals to 13. So negative 13x2 plus 13 times 2 is 26 is equals to 13. Now 13x2, that is negative, is equals to 13 minus 26 because I am collecting the like terms. So negative 13x2 is equals to negative 13 because 13 minus 26 is negative 2. Negative 13, not negative 2, but it is negative 13. So I divide by negative 13, I divide by negative 13. So my x2 will be 1, which is positive. Now let us go to the first equation. We have 3x1 minus 7 into x2. x2 is 1 plus 4 into x3. x3 is 2, is equals to 10. So we have 3x1 minus 7 plus 8 is equals to 10. So this is 3x1 plus 1 because negative 7 plus 8 is 1, which is positive. Is equals to 10. So if I take 1 to the other side, I have 3x1 here is equals to 9. So my x1 will be 3. Because if I divide by 3 here, I divide by 3 here, I will have 3. So the value of x1 is equals to 3, then the value of x2 is equals to 1, and the value of x3 is equals to 2. That is how to use the Gauss elimination method to solve a system of linear equations. So how I wish that you could subscribe to this channel, you could like, you could share, and you could comment.